The slaying of the serpent or the dragon has happened multiple times in our existence, and this battle is probably eternal and cyclical. I don't know how this didn't occur to me earlier despite being aware of the myths and the slaying of the serpent, even though the serpent was the most cherished symbol in the ancient and even in the new world. So in simple terms, the serpent is embraced, people are living peacefully, fully aware of their inner spiritual energy, raising through the tree of life and achieving salvation from the materialistic illusion. This means everyone is equal and the materialistic world and the greed is seen as unnecessary. But what happens is, as people rise, they become blinded by power and might turn against nature, which is the definition of the fallen angels. So they slay the serpent and leave people spiritually blinded, unable to move in the higher realms or achieve salvation, keeping them trapped in the materialistic illusion. This will lead to the rise of the demiurge or Yaldabaoth and his creation. The slaying of the serpent, known as Apep or Apophis, occurred in ancient Egyptian mythology. The legend goes that the serpent wanted to dissolve the creation and the gods Ra and Set defeated him. In other words, Set killed the ability of the people to raise to his level, because if all people were to raise, then the materialistic illusion created by Yaldabaoth would dissolve. This would bring spiritual darkness to the world and practically save the materialistic creation of Yaldabaoth, much like the world in which we live today. So this is the classical pendulum swing, a recurring pattern or oscillation between two extremes. The serpent is cherished, then the serpent is associated with the devil. As we can see later, Set is defeated by Horus. This can also be interpreted as Ra being replaced by Horus as the sun deity. This implies the return of the serpent. As the story goes, Set kills his brother Osiris, then with the help of the divine feminine energy of Hathor, Isis or Nephthys, Osiris is resurrected and becomes Horus. Then he defeats Set and the power of the spirit is once again available to all. This is all antediluvian knowledge from the time of the pyramids and the previous civilizations. This happened in some other era. The same story can be found in Sumer and Mesopotamia, where Marduk kills the primordial goddess Tiamat, the one who gave birth to the gods, and this makes sense. The serpent goddess Tiamat gave birth to the gods because humans were able to raise the spirit like serpent and become gods. Funny enough, the slayer of the serpent are always the storm gods like Set, Marduk, and even the enemy of Thor is the worm serpent, Jormungandr, which also has a mission to dissolve the physical world. If you haven't read the ancient wisdom or critically observed our fallen world and the people that are on top of the corporation and governments, you might think that the serpent, which symbolizes wisdom, is really the devil because it appears to aim at destroying the physical universe. However, this perception arises from not being aware that this is just a flawed creation and what is taken from you is much more real and beautiful. But back in Egypt, that's why the gods have the serpent symbol next to the enlightened sun above their heads. That's why Thoth has the caduceus with the two serpents. That's why Ningishzida from Sumer is also known as the serpent god with the caduceus. That's why Moses raised the serpent staff in the desert and healed his people. And that's why Jesus said,
"Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves." Just as Moses lifted up the snake in the wilderness, so the Son of Man must be lifted up.
The entire point of the serpent symbolism is the raising of the spiritual energy through the tree of life, the 7 chakras, the 10 sephirot from the Kabbalah, or the 9 parts of the soul in ancient Egypt, which are essentially the same thing. This knowledge is well preserved in Tantra and Kundalini Yoga, but not entirely. The ancient people had more efficient ways. Their temples and pyramids were also very helpful. Read my post about the real purpose of the pyramids.
What? Know ye not that your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost which is in you, which ye have of God, and ye are not your own? For ye are bought with a price. Therefore glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's.
The spirit is inside you, and the kingdom of God is inside you. In Kabbalah, it's called the Keter or the crown. In Tantra, it's called Sahasrara chakra or crown chakra. And in ancient Egypt, it's called Ak, or the enlightened merged soul. The Bible is telling you this, but it's also hiding the knowledge in plain sight. That's because the serpent right now is slain. If you look at the gnostic text rejected by Christianity, everything will make sense. This is from the Gospel of Thomas, a 1900-year-old gnostic text.
When you make the two one, and when you make the inside like the outside, and the outside like the inside, and the above like the below, and when you make the male and the female one and the same, so that the male not be male nor the female. And when you fashion eyes in the place of an eye, and a hand in place of a hand, and a foot in place of a foot, and a likeness in place of a likeness, then will you enter the kingdom.
This is practically what happens after you raise the Kundalini. You dissolve the duality, eliminate the fear and the pain, and achieve perfect equilibrium into divine feminine and masculine energies. That's why the ancient religions sometimes portrayed the gods like Shiva, Osiris and Baphomet as half male and half female. Also, when you fashion eyes in the place of an eye, is referring to the third eye. That's why when you meditate with your eyes closed, you need to focus in the middle of the forehead to activate the third eye. The rising of the serpent is very well portrayed in the Temple of Hathor, known as the Dantera Temple. It describes the birthing of Horus, which is often portrayed as a serpent in the temple. In this depiction, we can see the serpent emerging from the lotus flower, which is the symbol of the flower of life, also known as the 1000-petaled Sahasrara chakra or the crown chakra in Hinduism, from which the gods are born. The serpent and the light are touching the tip of the head of the people in meditation, the crown chakra. That's how Horus is born. In this depiction, the jet pillar is added, representing the spine of Osiris. The serpent is climbing through your spine. The spirit and the tree of life are inside you. In fact, as Rumi, the famous Sufi mystic, said, everything in the universe is within you. In this depiction, we can see a lion-like goddess with knives. In my opinion, that is Bastet, the daughter of Ra, who together with Set has slain the serpent. That's why Horus later considers them as enemies. The mythology overlaps a lot, and that's because people in the past changed their interpretations, but the overall picture should be clear. In one interpretation, Set slays Apep, in another, Ra turns into a cat and kills the serpent, and yet in another, his daughters Bastet or Sekhmet, portrayed as lions, are slaying the serpent. In these depictions, we can see the serpent is chained, just as Thoth in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth the Atlantean explains how we are bound and chained by the 7 archons, which represent our 7 chakras or 5 main Sephiroth. We need to defeat our desires and ego to liberate ourselves and attain enlightenment. We are now probably at the end when the pendulum will swing to the other side and bring the serpent back. This is known as the apocalyptic prophecies from the ancient religions, the apocalypse in Christianity, the returning of the Messiah in Judaism, Frashokeret in Zoroastrianism, the end of the Kali Yuga in Hinduism, the return of the Blue Star Kachina in the Hopi traditions, the return of Quetzalcoatl or the feather serpent in the Mesoamerican traditions, Ragnarok in Norse mythology, and many others. Now, this is a very interesting coincidence. The last time when the serpent was slain was during the rapid progress in the Renaissance, known as the Age of Enlightenment. In my opinion, the false enlightenment. I have already written a few posts about this, but it began with the commission of the work of Raphael, known as the Saint George slaying the dragon, ordered by the most powerful family at that time, the Medici family. In my videos, I state my opinion that we've sided with the wrong interdimensional entities that control the elites, and at that time the dragon disappeared from the Medici banner, the French coat of arms, and the serpent was repainted from the hands of Queen Elizabeth into flowers. All royal families in Europe are connected, and the most interesting coincidence is that in the same period the colonizers discovered America and destroyed their culture and the serpent. They were aware of the Mesoamerican and Native American civilizations, and they went there specifically to destroy their cultures so they could hijack the history. Christopher Columbus discovered pyramids, people practicing meditation and yoga, and the feather serpent as a cherished symbol. The Aztec mother of all gods was the serpent goddess Coatlicue. The entire ancient world was connected and had the same traditions that derive from the primordial tradition. They went to kill the dragon and set up the new world, which would be spiritually blinded. That's how the pendulum swings. The most cherished symbol becomes the devil. All ancient civilizations, including the Aboriginal people and the Rainbow Serpent, the African, Mesoamerican, Asian, and European cultures that cherish the serpent or the divine feminine energy are destroyed, so humans can be spiritually blinded, and the creation of Yaldabaoth or the demon of impermanence in Hinduism and Buddhism can be saved. In the work of Rudolf Steiner, this can be interpreted as the Ahrimanic forces feeding us with technology versus the Luciferian light, which is enlightenment and spiritual energy. He insists that we need balance, but I guess you can't have balance. Is the pendulum swinging one way then the other, and it's often the good forces portrayed as evil. It's the greatest deception of the devil. That's why today's elite and the leaders create this confusion. The true disclosure involving UAPs, the spiritual aspect, and the 12,000-year cyclical event that brings the apocalypse and revelation will never come from them officially. If people don't prepare spiritually, which is their goal to keep you spiritually blinded, you will not be able to perceive the ultimate reality and escape from the illusion. Those who remain in the materialistic illusion, if there are any, will think they survived the ultimate evil. In fact, they stayed in their hell. Let me know if you want me to further elaborate on this in another video. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share this video so it can reach more viewers. If you can, support me on Patreon, where you can read exclusive content available only there, or help me with one-time donations on Buy Me a Coffee. Only with your help I can keep sharing my research here and on X. Thanks.